Hello and welcome to a DFS strategy video for the 2023 Jon Rahm Open. Mexico Open. I keep messing that up for some reason. I feel like there's just some kind of subliminal thing that's going on. Let's be real here. It's Jon Rahm or bust, right? So we'll talk more about that here. In this strategy video, it's all about building lineups using the SweetSpot process, which means taking what we learned in the preview video, adding in the SweetSpot score, the Marquee Tee Times, as well as the anchor buckets to build our lineups around. But honestly, the number one question for the week is, are we starting with Jon Rahm or not? So we'll get to that at the end of the video. By the way, wherever you're watching this, if it's live or if it's, with the replay, there are timestamps. You can check those in the down below. I should say, I need to do a better job updating those because I forget to do it every once in a while. But if you want to see lineup building, that's at the end of the video. We're going to go over a few things here in the beginning to add to the whole SweetSpot process. And then we're going to build lineups towards the end of the video. So if you have 2 to 4 golfers, if you come here live, if you have 2 to 4 golfers who want me to build lineups around, we'll use the optimizer to do that. There is something to speak about with the optimizer this week. I kind of touched over it in the preview video, but we will discuss that here a little bit later during the lineup building process. But anyways, before we get into any of that, the Marquee Tee Times, the SweetSpot score, anchor buckets, any of that, let's remind everyone about giveaways. One being a subscriber giveaway. Basically, I do a weekly and a monthly giveaway. Weekly giveaways are ran every Monday night. During the preview video where Joanne won this last week. Hello, Joanne. Good evening. Those entries will also go into the monthly giveaway, which I run as the first Monday of the new month. And every entry that has been created throughout that last month will get put into that giveaway. And it can be up to $50. We did that during Masters Week. That was for the month of March. We gave away $50 there. If we don't hit the sub goal that you see all the way over there to the left, 520 out of 550 is what we're at. So we need 30 new subscribers. We need to hit that sub goal in order to give away the $50. If we don't give away, or if we don't hit the sub goal, I'll give away a t-shirt that has this logo on it, but it'll be, spun the right side round for you guys. It's mirrored. So that's why it looks backwards on your guys' end. But I'll be giving away that if we don't give away $50. So if you want an entry into that, all you gotta do is be subscribed. Comment down on any of the videos I have. I think I already put out 4 this week. This will be number 5. You get 5 entries, not only into the weekly giveaway that I run next Monday, but also 5 new ones into the monthly giveaway. I like to reward those that participate on the channel. So if you just happen to do just that, out of the goodness of your heart, I'm going to reward you in one way or another. So that's our first giveaway. The second one is like a rebate, really. Prize Picks. There's a link in the description. Go sign up on Prize Picks. Use the promo code SweetSpot. Put some money in your account. I think the minimum deposit Prize Picks asks for is $20. If you do that, I'm going to give you your $20 back. That way you get to play it for free. And Prize Picks will match your deposit up to $100. So your 20 will turn into 40. And you'll get your 20 back for me, meaning you're playing Prize Picks for free. So I'm giving you an opportunity to do just that. But of course, you can go ahead and put $100 in your account and they will match it. So you'll have $200 in your account and you'll still get $20 from me. So again, link in the description below. That covers kind of the monetary giveaways. I have a cheat sheet that is available. I'll put that on the screen right now. You can find a link to this in the description as well. Everything that I go over, not only in the preview video, but here in the strategy video, you can find on the cheat sheet. Once you're here, you can utilize the filters that I've created. So I have a DraftKings filter on the Dream Sheet tab. On the Bucket System tab, I have a Bucket System filter. I utilize those throughout all of my videos. So if you want to utilize those as well, they're there for you. If you want to modify this in one way or another, go to File and make a copy. And also, guess what? The data, it's free. You guys can copy the data if you want it. The only way you can do that, though, is if you make a copy of it. So I highly encourage you to make a copy if you want to go ahead and modify this or take down any of the information. This is free. It's free. It's available to you. So not only is the cheat sheet available to you, but so too is the optimizer. I'm going to be building lineups this week. Now, let me zoom in a little bit here. Now, if you don't want the optimizer because I use buckets, you know, I have my bucket system conditionals right in here. This goes heavily off the bucket system. You could actually remove these. I have a video on how to use this optimizer down in the description. You can actually change these. So if you want nothing to do with the buckets, you just change these to zeros, you change these to sixes, and you don't have to worry about the bucket system at all. You can remove the group numbers, and then here in this column, you can update this to whatever you'd like. Whatever golfers you like the best, those you'd want higher points. So the higher the point, the more likely the optimizer is going to grab that golfer. I mean, the optimizer is awesome, and you can save your lineups. You can export this into, or I should say, you can export it and then import it into DraftKings. That way you can do your mass lineup builds that way and then import them that way. Obviously, it's going to keep track of how many lineups that you create. It'll also keep track of how much you own a golfer. So let me just save this first lineup, although it's not a lineup you can. You can see you built one lineup right up here, and it'll show you your ownership percentages right there. So it keeps track of all of that. I will update this to show you what combinations you have. You could go ahead and unhide this information over here, and it will tell you what's most commonly matched with the golfer associated with, you know, over in this column here, how many times that golfer's been matched. So there's a lot of stuff on this optimizer if you're interested in it. I know some people come to this channel, they'll watch the video for a couple minutes and be like, I'm not a really big bucket system guy, or I don't really care about the bucket system. Well, you can still take advantage of the optimizer, but it requires you to be subscribed to the channel because I don't want to give it away for anything away for free that someone isn't, you know, coming to my channel to use. That makes sense. Again, I want to participate I want to reward those that participate on this channel. So this is also available to you. So those are all the giveaways this week. Took 7 minutes to get there, but hey, we're good. So now let's go ahead and get into the rest of the video. We're going to start with my rankings because my rankings go into the Marquee Tee Times, and it's worthwhile talking about the rankings that I have for this week. Again, you can find this information on the cheat sheet. I have updated it so you guys can use that. Actually, there is one thing I need to update, and that's this ranking. The colors indicate the Marquee Tee Times, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste that over right there. Boom. Updated. Don't have to spend any more time doing that. So, there's been one withdrawal, by the way, Ryan Brem. I don't know if any of you guys were interested in playing him, but he has withdrawn. So don't play him. On the cheat sheet, you'll see that his name says out next to it. Take that into consideration when building lineups. The optimizer does not have him in it whatsoever. So you don't have to worry about it with the optimizer. Anyways, rankings, top to bottom. One thing I want you to actually first note, I say this every single week when I go over the rankings. Check out the price tags. Will Gordon is $7,900. Let's use Robbie Shelton. He's $8,000. This is our $8,000 mark. It's line 26. Anybody who's less than $8,000 that goes up over, you know, in this territory right here, I would say is a value. Any of these 9K golfers that get lapped by any 8 or 7K golfers, those would be overpriced, in my opinion. So, with that being said, looking at our rankings, we can kind of see a little, you know, mix up. Will Gordon jumps up a ton. 14th in my model. 18th in my model is a guy who is $6,800 in Ben Taylor. So that's pretty remarkable. This is the Mexico Open. There is some weird pricing. So it doesn't really, I don't know. I don't really find it that odd that it's like this. A lot of these events where not a lot of good golfers come and we have all of these random golfers. I shouldn't say random, but you know, like junior varsity golfers that aren't as good as the elite golfers, put it that way. when they're here or when they're an event all together, it really messes up pricing that DraftKings has, because DraftKings uses their own algorithm. I use my own model that I think are, you know, the best rated golfers. We're not always going to see eye to eye. And Ben Taylor being $6,800, that seems pretty, that's a huge value. The optimizer will select Ben Taylor a lot. Of course, never fall in love with a 6K golfer. That is my rule. Try to limit your exposures to them less than 6%. That's probably the best way to say, or the best way to follow. So although I do like Ben Taylor, I probably won't roster him in more than 5% of my lineups. Really, I don't see anything else. Eric Cole jumps up here. He's $7,500. Remember, this is line 26, I believe, was our $8,000 mark. So David Lipsky, $7,600. Cole, $75,000. Hodges is $79,000. Again, we have Ben Taylor, Will Gordon, and that rounds out the 7Ks that are above the original 8K golfers. Some names, some notable names that have dropped. Nikolai Højgaard. Now, he's obviously a really good golfer. This is kind of a glorified Corrales Punta Cana, and he actually had a pretty decent Corrales Punta Cana. I think he finished second there, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Do I have that information? I do. Let's see. $9,500. Where are we at? Yeah, so he finished second at the Corrales Punta Cana. So if I think this is a glorified Corrales Punta Cana, this is actually a pretty good event for him. But when you got Jon Rahm in the field, I could skip past Nikolai Højgaard quite easily and go somewhere else. So that's kind of my feelings on it. I don't want to spend too much time. Like, you could bump up Nikolai Højgaard's ranking if you wanted to. He's getting hurt because he has very little PGA Tour events under his belt this season, and a lot of my stats come from this season. So that's why he kind of has a lower ranking. Same kind of applies to Alex Noren, but I'm okay with Alex Noren being down here. I think he's overpriced, and I wouldn't want to play him, honestly. The rest of the golfers, though, I mean, this 8 and 9K range, we got to make decisions regardless. I don't necessarily think that it really matters that much as to who has what is perceived value, especially when it comes to my rankings. I don't think it really matters. All I can tell you is that the optimizer will select these golfers more often than any of their similar price golfers that are below them. So just keep that in mind. And if you do get the optimizer and you want to update this number, you certainly can. So you can see $9,500 Nikolai Højgaard. I have 805 as his metric point. If you want to bump this up to 905, be my guest. That way the optimizer will select Nikolai Højgaard a little bit more. And if you even want to bump it up to 1,000, if you think he's worth 1,000, he's the third ranked golfer in this field, by all means, do so. Personally, I'm going to keep it here. If I want to bump him up, if I'm being honest, I don't really care for a lot of the 9K golfers anyways. So I'm okay leaving it right there. We've got some decisions to make when building lineups, more importantly, Jon Rahm or not. So we'll cover that here shortly. Going back to the rankings, again, these 8 and 9K golfers, it doesn't really matter. Now, to build the most efficient lineup, you probably would use all the 8K golfers, if I'm being honest. Like, pepper the 8K range, as Chet Eckert would say. It's probably really good value. So like the lineup that the 6 golfers I just highlighted the price tags, this equals 50,400. So I could probably just remove him and put Steven Yeager. This is 49,700, and all of my golfers are inside the top 15 of my rankings. Like, that's probably the very few times that can happen. That would happen. You know, like these 9s. You know, Gary Woodland probably wouldn't be this low, or a golfer of similar price tags in other events wouldn't be this low. Same goes with Nikolai Højgaard down here. So like a lot of 9K golfers just dropped, and a bunch of our 8K golfers jumped up. So I don't know. I might make a lineup like this just because, just to see, and put it in kind of a cash lineup or a cash contest. But moving on from here, now I talk about the rankings because they go into the Marquee Tee Times. And by the way, if you want to know what goes in the SweetSpot model, it's the same stats I go over every single week. So if you want to see a video on really what these stats are, I would just say go check out one of my earlier videos because I do explain what all these stat categories are. If you already know, we don't need to talk about it because it's the same stuff. And it's pretty self-explanatory. And honestly, you can find this stuff over on the cheat sheet as well. I keep all the points that goes into the model on the cheat sheet. Again, link in the description for that cheat sheet. Now, moving on. My the SweetSpot ranks go into the Marquee Tee Times. Basically, what I do is I total up every golfer and every tee time, what their SweetSpot rank is. The lowest total, the lowest cumulative total will get the best rank. So it's a rank order of the best groups in the field. And obviously the number one tee time is the one that has Jon Rahm in it. I think that's pretty easy. Even if he was, if he was paired up with some worse golfers, he would have a worse Marquee Tee Time ranking, but he is the number one group, or he is in the number one group. Group number two, okay, so group one is Jon Rahm, Emiliano Grillo, Alex Noren. Group two is Patrick Rogers, Brandon Wu, Sean O'Hare. 3 is Taylor Pendrith, Alex Smalley, Martin Laird. 4, Patton Kizzire, Ben Martin, Sung-Yul No. Just kind of going down the list here. I'll highlight the next one. Number 5 is Andrew Putnam, Will Gordon, James Hahn. 6 is Gary Woodland, Lucas Glover, Austin Smotherman. And 7 is Robbie Shelton, Michael Kim, Harry Higgs. Now, I've got 2 other groups down here that are kind of like honorary mentions. I can include them because the optimizer lets me use 2 more groups. So group 8 would be Eric Cole, Martin Trainer, and Hank Libiota. And then group 9, Byung Hanan, Andrew Novak, and Willie McGirt. Now, Marquee Tee Times for me are important because I've tracked this since the PGA Championship, since actually just before the PGA Championship that Phil Mickelson won, so Kiowa Island. So we're at like 70 plus weeks, something like that. I've been tracking this. 90% of that time, you will find from the Marquee Tee Times 2 to 4 golfers that are in the optimal lineup. So that's 90%. That's a very large percentage. Now, I can't tell you which ones, you know, what percentage is 2, which percentage is 3, and what percentage is 4 of the golfers in the Marquee Tee Times being in the optimal. But I can tell you, if you select a range from 2 to 4 and you stick to it, you have a pretty good shot of at least, I mean, you have a good shot of getting the golfers from the optimal lineup in your lineup. Of course, we don't know what those are right now, but I'm feeling pretty confident that of the groups I've highlighted, if you select 2 to 4 of those groups and pick one golfer from each of those groups to put in your lineups, you're going to have a pretty good chance to find at least 2 golfers in the optimal lineup, if not more. Now, that's the rule. Find 2 to 4 golfers to anchor your lineups around and never pick more than 1 golfer from our group, which kind of stinks because I was really liking Emiliano Grillo to go with Jon Rahm, but they're paired up together. I will create a lineup with Rahm and Grillo in it, but just one. I build about 100 lineups, so I will not be anchoring lineups around Emiliano Grillo and Jon Rahm. So you can do that with the rest of these groups. If there are golfers you like that are paired up together, the rule is don't play them together. So if you're into Taylor Pendrith, Alex Smalley lineups, don't pair them together. Unless you're building 100 lineups like me. If you're building 100 lineups like me, there is, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but the risk is, I think, worth the squeeze. The juice is worth the squeeze. I think we risk it. You know, 1, 2, 3 lineups, pairing up golfers together, I think it's fine. But for the most part, I'm going to stay away. Because again, the percentages are in our favor to not pair golfers up together and just play lineups by selecting 2 to 4 groups and 1 golfer each from those groups. So how that would look is if you really liked Rahm and you wanted to pair him up with a 9K golfer, scan the rest of the groups for a 9K golfer that you liked. So if you like Benny Ann down here, perfect. There you go. Those are your 2 out of 4 groups. You've selected 2, and the golfers that are in those groups aren't playing together. So there you go. That's a good anchor spot. Like if you wanted to anchor those golfers, that's beautiful. Now, if you wanted to try to find 4 golfers, remember you got to build a lineup. So you got to keep the salary cap under 50,000. If you start with Jon Rahm, you probably can't play a 9K and an 8K golfer together. Now, it's possible, but probably or not probable. So you would have to kind of think about that when you're looking at building lineups. Maybe we go Jon Rahm, Brandon Wu, and then find a 7K golfer that we like. So maybe even Will Gordon. Now we have 3 golfers that we selected from the Marquee Tee Times to anchor our lineups around. So for all those that are in the chat, if you want me to build lineups for you, I would highly consider finding 2 to 4 golfers from the list that you see on the screen of groups of golfers that are not playing together and us building lineups around those guys. I kind of said this earlier in the week. I like kind of starting Jon Rahm, Patrick Rodgers. I think a lot of people will probably start this way. I was listening to someone, or not listening. I read somewhere that one of these Patrick Rodgers is going to have like 20% ownership. So what? You know, like Rahm could have like 40% ownership. Rodgers could have 20% ownership. That's fine. I'll always say this, and I kind of almost want to make a shirt that says it. The optimal lineup doesn't care about ownership. It really doesn't. So we are optimal lineup chasers. We're optimal lineup hunters. We are just going to put all the criteria together to build the optimal lineup. And that does not include looking at ownership. It just doesn't. So I wouldn't mind starting Rahm and Rodgers. I also wouldn't mind starting Rahm and Pendrith. Really like that. You know, get rid of Rodgers and add in Pendrith. So if you wanted like to pivot, Pendrith is a great choice. I like Taylor Pendrith. Maybe you don't want to play Pendrith. You like another 9K golfer. Well, we have them all spread out. Like Woodland is here. We already talked about Benny Ann. That's another 9K golfer. Pendrith is in his own group. Patrick Rodgers is in his own group. So maybe starting with a 10-9 sounds pretty reasonable this week. But you could also start with 2 8K golfers. Like I really like Alex Smalley this week. You could start with Rahm, go to Smalley, and then if you wanted to find another 8K golfer, well, I guess why not Brandon Wu? That wouldn't be terrible. Maybe you like Andrew Putnam. Perfect. There you go. Even if you wanted to add in a 6K golfer and Austin Smotherman, perfect. There we go. We got it all. So again, we want to pick somewhere between 2 to 4 golfers, or really 2 to 4 groups, 1 golfer each in those groups. And then that's where we're going to anchor our lineups around. Gabe, what's going on, man? You gonna take the week off? Okay. Sweet spots it goes. Appreciate that, Gabe. It's a good time to take a week off. This is a very pitiful week, but there are still contests on DraftKings to be won. There's still, you know, $25,000 given away for the $5 Drive the Green. Someone has to win it. Why not me? Why not you? So I'll be playing regardless. That's going to cover the Marquee Tee Times. Probably should have said that first and then talk about the taking the week off and whatnot. So again, if you're coming into the chat, find 2 to 4 golfers you want me to build lineups around that are on the screen right now. Or if you have 2 to 4 of your own, that's fine. We don't have to necessarily do that. But personally, I think starting with the Marquee Tee Times is the best way to go. We'll build lineups that way. By the way, if you do want access to the optimizer, I'm going to keep my email open and I will make a copy of it to send to you. So if you want that, again, I'll send it to you. So that takes care of the Marquee Tee Times. Let's go ahead and get into the anchor buckets. So this is an interesting conversation that I had, or that I talked about in the preview video. So with the preview, it's difficult to really cover the buckets, primarily because prior to last year, it was a WGC event. And with the WGC event, we don't have a lot of golfers in the field. Like we had 70 at most, 72 golfers. And of those 72 golfers, we had recurring golfers that kept coming back to the event. So for instance, like if I were to go to say 2020, we see Patrick Reed, Bryson, Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Hideki Matsuyama. We can already see about 4 more elite golfers in this field, or in the 2020 field, than we do in this week's field. because this week's field is extremely weak. If I went to 2019, look at that. There's Rory again. We were just talking about Rory. Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas. Hey, we already said his name. So you have these golfers that keep coming back and forth, or that were keep coming back to the event because it was a WGC event. It's an elevated event where golfers were making had the opportunity to make a lot of money. So sorry, I had to turn the light down. It was a bit too bright for me. So we had all these golfers that kept coming back, and with the 70-man field, if we were to look at the first bucket, which is last year ones, these are top 20 finishes from the week before, or from the year before. So having a top 20 finish at the WGC Mexico Championship the year before was pretty easy to get to, and you would have a ton of golfers in this bucket. That tournament's different than this tournament. Like if we look at the 2022 Mexico Open, Rahm was our 11K golfer. We had Tony Finau at 10-4. 9,500 was Aaron Wise. $9,400 was Cameron Champ. Do you see how weird that looks? This isn't the same, 20 golfers inside the top 20 than we had the years before. Not even remotely close. Where, like, just to give an example, in 2021, so let's say if this was a WGC event, or 2022 was a WGC event, and we had Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed wouldn't be there, maybe Matt Fitzpatrick. If those golfers, those 6 golfers, were playing in 2022, it's pretty reasonable to think that they're going to finish inside the top 10 because they're just really good golfers. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them, like 2 to 4 of them. I would assume so, right? And that's what I have for a projection this week for last year ones, 2 to 4. So it's using that information from like what I was talking about in 2021. Because in 2020, you had a lot of those golfers that we were just talking about already inside the top 10, like Justin Thomas and so on and so forth. It doesn't make sense to really go, like, I hate to say this, but because I don't have a universal bucket system right now, or a bucket system where I could actually just pull out an event that looks very similar to this week's event, where we, our strength of field is below 200. We could say X amount of golfers are inside the top 50 of the OWGR, X amount of golfers are inside the top 100, all of that criteria, because I can't pull a bucket system from those numbers. I'm not sure I care to trust the bucket system completely this week. As much as I hate to, because that's my, that's my brand. We go by the bucket system. I will say this though, I actually don't mind a lot of these buckets, from first glance, because I am, not only am I taking into the success rate from year to year, so you could actually ignore this, I would say, but we're also looking at the number of golfers that enter those buckets every single year versus how many of them the max projection over here as like a conservative number to make this takes into account the sweet spot score for each of the golfers. So I think with all of it combined, I think we still have a pretty good rough estimate as to what to expect at this event and which golfers, are going to show up inside the top 10. Now, I did, in the preview video, exclude last year buckets as well as course history buckets, and I think that's fine. So with those excluded, we're just looking at last week, which I think is a wonderful bucket to look at regardless. We're looking at recent form buckets. Again, another good bucket to look at. Salaries, maybe not so much. I mean, I joked about this in the preview. There are only 2 10K golfers, but for whatever reason, the bucket system thinks there's going to be 1 to 4 golfers in the 10K range to be inside the top 10. I think, like, my joke was, yeah, Rahm kind of, you can count him as like 3 golfers in this event. And it's just giving you a triple modifier of saying play Rahm. You know, if he's like 30% own him in 90% of your contest. So there's a little bit of a flaw here, and again, it's because of every single year this event was played prior to last year. It was a WGC event. You'd have somewhere between 5 to 7 golfers inside that were in the 10K range, and that's kind of where like 46% success rate of 10K golfers from this event. Oh, by the way, there were 2 10K golfers last year inside the top 10. There were 2 10K golfers inside the top 2. If I were to go and just... Yeah, so sort this by salaries. We had 5 10K golfers, including Patrick Reed, by the way. Reed, Nah, Answer, they all finished 42nd place, but then we had Finau and Rahm at the top. 2 guys, I mean, this is 2 out of 5, which is 40% of the 10K range last year, finished inside the top 10, but also technically top 5. And what I had on the screen before putting this filter on, the success rate for last year ones, 27%. Or not last year ones, I'm sorry, we're talking about salaries. I jumped the gun. Of 10K golfers, 46%, so it matches. So if we got one 10K golfer inside the top 10 this week, that's a 50% success rate. That just adds to the number, which to me just is like, is it Rahm or Finau? You're choosing between the 2 golfers. Of course, I prefer Rahm because the guy is insane and he's gonna win almost every tournament he's playing in. So, like I said, we're talking about the last week recent form buckets, salary and strokes gained buckets. I think these are all pretty good to look at. Let's go ahead and take a look. So I would just say, you know, if you're on the cheat sheet, again, I would deselect course history and last year buckets. We don't need to look at those. And then we go with success rate, or not success rate, max projection. Filter by condition, go greater than or equal to 2. And then from this total, like the bucket total, I want the least amount of golfers possible. So I never want to see anything more than 30, which is pretty easy to cross out. The easiest way to do this one is just clear everything and just select the ones under 30. You can see 35 is our 4th option. So we really have 3 buckets to choose from. Recent form 2, salary 1, strokes gained 1. Guess who that is? Just like all of them. Strokes gained 1. Like let's look at our strokes gained 1 golfers. Strokes gained 1. We've got 5 of them. Okay. Salaries 10K golfers, and then recent form 2s. Well, guess what? 2 10K golfers in Rahm and Finau. They're both in the recent form 2 bucket, and they're both in the strokes gained 1 bucket. So it's a coin flip between Finau and Jon Rahm. I think if you have in one and done, if you still have Tony Finau available, I think this is a perfect time to play him. I think that's what I'll end up doing if I have Tony Finau available in my one and dones. I wouldn't waste Jon Rahm here. I mean, it's $1 million, like $1.3 million or $1.4 million. That still helps with your overall pursuit of trying to take down, you know, a one and done. But I still think there are other tournaments Jon Rahm can win. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins another major this year. So it could be another $3 million in his pocket, and towards your one and done, teams. So those 2 golfers are in each of the anchor buckets, which again, it's like it's Jon Rahm or nothing, right? But here are your strokes gained 1, and the projection of this somewhere between 1 to 4. This 2 I'm going to round down to 1. This 3.3 I'll round up to 4. So it's 1 to 4. So literally, Tony Finau and Rahm could finish inside the top 10, and you have to make your choice of which one it's going to be. Is it going to be Rahm? Is it going to be Finau? And then you go from there. There is Wyndham Clark and Patrick Rodgers. So I was talking about in the Marquee Tee Times. I don't mind starting with like Rahm and then adding Patrick Rodgers. Like that's kind of a fun 10-9K or 10K 9K combo to build with. But also, Wyndham Clark isn't in a Marquee Tee Time, which is fine. You don't have to really select your 10 and 9K golfer that way. But maybe you go like Finau Clark. Finau's not even in a Marquee Tee Time. He's playing with... Who is he playing with again? I can't remember. He's in group 22, the 22nd best group, which is kind of pitiful. He is playing with this kind of Nico Echevarria and Camilo Villegas. What the heck? I don't know how that lineup gets created, but that's kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie. Like they're kind of doing them dirty. Those two golfers could be good. I don't know. It just seems like a bad group. Anyways, so our other anchor buckets, recent form 2 golfers. So if you're following along on the cheat sheet, just clear everyone out of the recent form bucket and just select 2. We have 13 golfers here, and our projection is 2 to 4. And that stays pretty, stays the same even when we include kind of the conservative maximum projection over here. So 2 to 4, you know, again, it's that decision between Rahm and Finau. I'm personally going to go with Rahm. I don't see any of my other strokes gained 1 golfers here. Of course, it's all color coordinated. So can't really cross-populate, I guess, if you want to call it that. Can't really, you know, grab 2 golfers from the from each of those groups. But that's okay. I'm not going to lie, I kind of like Martin Trainer this week. I kind of dabbled into the Rainmakers and got myself some Martin Trainer cards for like 50 cents. So like I feel pretty good about that, and I kind of like Martin Trainer this week. He's in one of the Marquee Tee Times, and for whatever reason, this time of the year, I was kind of saying this on the Turn podcast last night with Andrew Putters. I kind of like Martin Trainer. I was going to try to combine names there, Martin Trainer. But I will say this too. I like Benny Ann. I don't mind playing Aaron Rai. I like S.H. Kim. I also don't mind playing MJ Duffy. I don't mind playing Patton Kizzire. Probably keep away from the rest of the guys on the screen, but there's enough from here that I would like to choose from. So this being an anchor bucket, it makes sense to me. It's good to see golfers that are in that bucket. The salary ones, those are your 10K golfers. We already talked about this. There's only 2, Finau and Rahm. Make your choice. I think it's definitely a coin flip between the 2. You start with one of them and then you go from there. And then strokes gained 1, we already looked at those 2. So we've covered all of the anchor buckets. It's really Rahm or Finau and then who you're pairing them up with. Now, go ahead. Choose some 9K golfers. That's fine. I'm personally, I think in at least 95% of my lineups will be going with Rahm. Let me actually back that up. 80% of my lineups will be with Rahm. 15% of my lineups will be probably with Finau. Actually, I'm going to go 10% of my lineups with Finau. 85% of my lineups with Rahm. 10% of my lineups with Finau. And the remaining 5, I'll just start with a 9K golfer and go from there. But that's how I'm going to be building my lineups this week. So with that being said, if you guys have some golfers you want me to build lineups around, and if you want me to follow the buckets, we certainly can. We can also remove this. So what I'm going to do right now is just copy this all down, put it into a different column. That way I still have it. And then we can change these to 0s and 6s. And if you want me to anchor around certain golfers, or if you want me to boost golfers' metrics, I certainly can while we build lineups. I'm just going to put this. Yeah, that's pretty busy. I don't want to do it that way. That looks bad. Go ahead and actually kind of saved it over here for a different contest. Perfect. We'll keep it right there. I should say different contest, a different tournament. I'll remove this so it doesn't look messy on the screen. But yeah, give me your 2 favorite golfers you want me to build lineups around. I'm personally going to go with Rahm and Patrick Rodgers. That's going to be my first one too that I'm going to build lineups with. Let me catch up with chat here. Gabe goes, going to be out at Quail Hollow next Wednesday for the Pro-Am, so perhaps I have some intel prior to lock. I am very intrigued by that. I want to know more. Once you're there, of course. And Gabe says, maybe I'll max out the dime time, I'm guessing, with some builds that I hear tonight. Absolutely, Gabe. $2? Why wouldn't you put two? Like, to me, I'm like, I'm always going to put $2 into the dime time because I get 20 lineups. I get to mess around with lineup strategies and stuff like that and just see how they work out. Plus, it's easy for me to track. So maybe 20 of my lineups I'll just put into the dime time and just screw around with them just to see what works and what doesn't, and go from there. But let me go ahead and just build one lineup just to have it on the screen. Like I said, I'm starting with Rahm and Patrick Rogers. Interesting. Don't really love it, but still super interesting. Jon Rahm, Patrick Rogers, Steven Yeager, Grayson Sigg. Also bought that card in Rainmakers. Sung-Yul No and Cody Gribble. I don't hate it. I actually kind of like it this week. Kind of intrigued on Cody Gribble. I don't know why, but I do find it somewhat interesting. One thing I want to do, I'm going to move these all to zeros for the last year 1 bucket as well as the course history bucket, and then I'm going to change these to 6s because I don't want too much of this to be influenced by course history, or I think we'll probably still get to those golfers that way, but I just want to see what this looks like. Let's see if I remove this, if we get that same lineup. So we'll clear out the lock that was on Sung-Yul No and run this optimizer again. See if we get the same lineup. We probably don't. We do. So it didn't even matter. Did not matter if I had those buckets in there or not. It fit. Let me run it again. Of course, the optimizer creates unique lineups, so Sung-Yul No will be kicked out. Ooh. Lucas Glover. It's funny talking to Andrew Putters about this. He's not a huge fan of Lucas Glover this week, and I don't blame him because he can definitely hurt you big time. Can't putt, right? So do a couple more here. Rahm, Rogers, Duffy, Batia at 7,400, Ben Taylor, and Ryan Moore. So what's really interesting is the first 3 lineups that were built using the optimizer while I locked in Rahm and Patrick Rogers tried to do a 10-9-8-7 and then 2 6s. I'm not telling the optimizer to do that, by the way. I am not saying, hey, select a 9K, select an 8K. Well, I am telling to lock in Patrick Rogers, but outside of that, I'm not trying to make it pick an 8K golfer. I don't understand why Duffy is getting selected as much as he is. It's not like he's an overwhelmingly better golfer than those around him. Let me remove the 7K. I want to see what this does. Okay. I think I'd be more comfortable with this. And that's weird. Like, I don't know why it was choosing an 8K golfer. Anyways, this one I can get behind. I'm okay with this one. Rahm, Rogers, Kazire, Streelman, Sigg, and Taylor. That seems like a pretty balanced build, if I was to say. Three 7K golfers. I have no issue with that. That still follows the 10-9-8-7-7-6 model. Remember, you can make 2 substitutions. So here we're taking that 8K golfer that we would normally start with, and we're subbing down to a 7 to incorporate Jon Rahm at $12,000. So that works out. And then we bring in MJ Duffy to go with Cam Champ, Ben Taylor, and Cody Gribble. So there are 6K golfers that are showing up a bunch. Interesting. So many 6Ks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to force it not to play 2 6Ks and just select one. But here we have Rahm, Rogers, S.H. Kim, Eckroat, Ben Taylor, and Satoshi Kodaira. Okay, yeah, 3 7Ks. I imagine as much. Rahm, Rogers, Reavie, Kim, Grayson Sigg, Cody Gribble. Not a huge fan of Ches Reavie. I want to see if he'll be selected again now that Cody Gribble's being kicked out. He did not. Instead, Lonto Griffin took his place, which is really interesting. Lanto is still kind of recovering from a surgery that happened a while ago, like back surgery, I think. So I wouldn't really trust him building lineups, but if you wanted to shake things up, this isn't terrible. I don't really like Michael Kim that much. Even in a bad field like this, I just don't trust. I don't trust it. And he's just going to show up a bunch, so maybe I need to lock him out. Ooh, I like this lineup. Rom Rogers Kazire, Peter Malnati, Augusto Nunez, and Ben Taylor. Kind of like that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually start saving some of these lineups so then it kind of changes, because like then it will look at the max ownership and it won't select some of these guys because they'll be overexposed. So now we should get 4 new golfers. Steven Yeager, Michael Kim, Grayson Sigg, and Kyle Stanley. I actually don't mind playing Kyle Stanley at this golf course, as crazy as that sounds. The notorious captain of Team No Putt. I don't mind it. I think these greens are going to be just easy enough where he's going to be okay. The only thing I don't like about this lineup is Michael Kim. I don't want to see Michael Kim. I'm going to open this up to some guys like Streelman. I don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and cross out Michael Kim. I like Augusto Nunez, and we'll keep Lucas Glover out, so we'll run it again. Yeah, I don't care about a lineup like this. Anytime Paul Haley shows up, I'll pass. That's fine, pass. Anybody have any lineup considerations? Any lineup suggestions? Who do you want me to build some lineups around 2 to 4 golfers? Let me know. Rom Rogers Duffy, Kevin Streelman, Grayson Sigg, Michael Gligic. I love this lineup. 1098-776. Yep. It's a great lineup. Almond Bread, what's going on, man? Brent Grant, Andrew Novak, or Matty Schmid? So is it you want me to select one of them? Or do you want me to pair up some of those guys together? Or what would you like me to do? Great names, by the way. Matty Schmid was another guy that I picked up on Rainmakers. I think he has a lot of potential. I actually don't mind Brent Grant either. And I like Andrew Novak mostly because of the name of Novak, but that's about it. Rom Rogers, Duffy, Streelman, Sigg, and Gligic. Yeah, sign me up for this lineup. I really like that lineup. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. A really good lineup. Ooh, anyone willing to play JB Holmes? Who do I like the best there? Jeez, that's a good question, man. So we have Grant. Schmid. Novak. They all kind of rate out well. Brent Grant would be my worst rated golfer in the sweet spot model. 79th, but that's not terrible. Like, I wouldn't even consider that to be a detriment whatsoever. Anything over 100 would be like a no-go for me. And even in this week, over 100 might actually be a play. All are in the PM wave. Only Novak is in a Marquee Tee Time, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, if you want Novak, if you want one of those guys in your lineup, it'd be hard pressed for me not to say go with Novak because he is in a Marquee Tee Time. Especially with the sweet spot process and following that. So if it's not Novak, if you like other golfers in the Marquee Tee Times, then you just don't do Novak. But he definitely has the best recent form out of everyone. All of them scoring about the same amount of DK points over the last 7 weeks. Round under 70 percentage. Brent Grant is a little bit better. He has 5 of them. I wonder how many, well, 5 events. I mean, 7 weeks. I almost don't care how many events. 50% round under 70 percentage. It's pretty good. He's also your best off the tee guy out of the group, which if you know me, I like off the tee more than I like any of the other stroke change stats. Season long, or just calendar year, I should say. Again, 1 full year. It shouldn't say season long. It should just say 1 calendar year or whatever. Novak and Schmid kind of are up there. Well, both Grant and Schmid were in the top 10 of a DK contest. Schmid has 2 of them, looks like, and Grant has 1. All can go pretty low. Looks like Schmid's maybe a little bit more volatile. That's kind of what this number here means. 8.6 is just the difference between this number and that number. All have the same round under 70 percentage, basically. Brent Grant actually looks a little bit better, and his off the tee is amazing. Yeah, great golfers to choose from, honestly. Cut made percentage for Novak is 67%. That's remarkable. And basically, recent form versus baseline is, you know, like how good are they playing recently versus their baseline. Brent Grant has been playing much better than his baseline. Almost in, not all stats, but pretty darn close. Like, this is pretty negligible, minus 0.070. That's basically 0. Around the green, I wouldn't be too concerned with. We have no idea which courses that he was hurt at, or not so much hurt at, but like which courses hurt his around the green stats. You know, is it thick rough? Is it, I mean, the rough this week around the green isn't going to be terrible, so you don't have to really be concerned about that. And he's actually putting much better. Off the tees a little, yeah, again, we don't really care. And his approach, I mean, hey, Brent Grant is making a better consideration just for his recent stats versus baseline. All of these can obviously come back to the mean, which means Brent Grant would get worse, and the other 2 guys would get better because their stats look worse recently than long term. Yeah, I guess if I'm gonna pick 2, it'd be Schmid and Grant, mostly because of off the tee and driving distance. I really like that. And Grant has a better birdie or better percentage. I guess it's Grant, right? 6,800. I mean, I think maybe you talked me into playing Brent Grant this week just by looking at stats like that. That's pretty cool, man. I don't know if that helped you. Who were you leaning towards, Almond Bread? Who did you like? Can you say who you liked without being influenced by what I just said? Like prior to what I said? Let's build a Brent Grant lineup. See who he pairs up best with. What's going on, J.K. Lawrence? What's happening? You know what? I'm actually going to give him a little boost here, too. Let's give him a 100-point boost. Hey, I think we've eliminated Novak, right? I think that's the big one. I think Schmid's a fine choice, too. Like I said, they can always come back to the mean, which obviously would be that Schmid would get better. And he wasn't playing all that bad. It was just that recently he hasn't been playing up to his baseline. And then, yeah, Brent Grant just seems like, you know, the potential for what Brent Grant could do seems pretty good. So this Grant lineup, I didn't lock in ROM, but it's a pretty good balanced lineup, minus Ches Reavie. I don't really care for Ches Reavie, but Finau, Grillo, SH Kim. Oh, by the way, I need to actually, it's not picking ROM because I have lineups already. Oh, we have a duplicate in there? I forgot to maybe delete. I'm going to save these off to the side. Okay. Let's try this again. Let's see if it'll pick Rom instead of Finau. Probably won't, but we'll see. Yeah, it doesn't. But this is even a sexier lineup. I really like this one with Brent Grant. Finau, Grillo, Jaeger, Will Gordon, Patton Kizzire, and Brent Grant. It's pretty solid. I'm actually going to save that one. Save it, and I'm going to put it somewhere else. Actually, I won't do it now, but I'm going to remove those golfers from the list because I'm sure Rahm is going to be selected here. It'd be crazy for Rahm. Yeah, okay, good. I was going to say it'd be really crazy if Rahm wasn't selected. But Rahm, Smalley, Duffy, Cole, Streelman, Grant. Sign me up again. That's a sweet lineup. I'm already a huge Smalley fan to begin with. You put him up with the guy that I want to build most of my lineups around this week. Heck yeah. And Eric Cole I have no issues with. Streelman in an event like this can do work. Like I don't mind that. That seems like a pretty decent lineup too. I think I want to delete the two lineups that showed up. Primarily because the optimizer will not pick Rahm or Finau for the next two lineups, and that just doesn't seem fair. Let me go ahead and run it again. I'm sure we're gonna get another like Finau, Emiliano Grillo lineup, most likely. Yeah. So I guess Almond Bread. If you wanted to build a lineup around Brent Grant, who would it be? And if not Brent Grant, we can do a Matty Schmid lineup. Who were you leaning towards building lineups around? We can see what it looks like. Basically, what the optimizer is doing right now is it's using the last week, the recent form, the strokes gain, and the salary buckets. Actually, it's not using the salary buckets outside of the maximums, but it's just using those 4 buckets. We're removing the last year in course history bucket because we have one event that was played at Vidanta, so we're not even, it just doesn't make sense. So we're not doing last year buckets, we're not doing course history buckets, but we are still taking into consideration the last week buckets, the recent form buckets, strokes gain, and salaries. So, while I wait for your answer, I'm gonna just go to Twitter and say that I'm live. By the way, earlier today, had an eye procedure, where they went in with a laser, my right eye, and cut a little hole in there to drain out fluid buildup. One of the weirdest experiences that I've ever had. Almost passed out, which I wasn't even bothered while I was doing it. I was like, while it was happening, I'm like, okay, cool. How much more how much more are we about, or I want to say how much more time? Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, how long is this going to take? And as soon as I started thinking that, my whole body just started just losing feeling or whatever. I didn't pass out, but it was crazy because like over time as this procedure was happening, my eye was getting blurrier and blurrier. So I don't know if that was like a fight or flight response that my body had, but it was crazy, man. Crazy. But yeah, I get to do this still, which is also crazy. My doctor was like, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and do your podcast stuff. So thought it was interesting. Give me some Rombo. Look at that. I like that, J.K. Lawrence. Those are narrative driven lineups. That is, I like that. That's cool. I think we lost Almond Bread. So Rom and Bo. So the first Rombo lineup adds in Steven Yeager, Peter Malnati, Grayson Sigg, and Sung Yul No. That's a pretty solid lineup. I like that lineup. Go ahead and save this off to the side. I'm not like a huge fan of Beau Hosler, but that seems pretty decent. I'm going to go ahead and hit run optimize again. We'll find a whole different 4 golfers to choose from. Ooh, Reevy? I don't think so, man. Do you like Reevy? Would you want to play Reevy? And if so, that's fine. I'm just not a huge Reevy guy, so I didn't remove him. Kazire, Griffin, Streelman, Taylor. Not a huge fan of Griffin this week. I'm gonna keep the wait and see approach with Lonto Griffin. I want to continue to see if he gets healthier and if his game starts to play a little bit better. I like his heart for golf. Ches Reevy we're talking about. Who's the guy that plays aggressive? Are we talking about Reevy? You're gonna have to give me some information with that. I didn't know he was an aggressive golfer. Rom, Hosler, Duffy, like that. Streelman, Eckroat, and Glover? Yeah, sign me up. I'll do that one too. That's a good one. Oh, Beau Hosler, okay. Sig's rounds under minus 27% I don't like. Let me double check. If that's the case, that's yeah, I guess that is pretty concerning. Sig. Ooh. Well, how many events would that be? So his approach is up. Yeah, his stats don't look super great, do they? Down on DK points. Up on scoring average, which is not good. Getting worse with his differential. Like, that's not a good differential. Actually, it's not a terrible differential. Never mind. But yeah, minus. Okay. So let's look. So Grayson Sigg, $7,000. Sigg. Zurich, there's no stats that I have for that. Actually, I think that does play into account his recent form. Missed the cut at the Heritage, missed the cut at Valero Texas Open, missed the cut at the Players' Challenge. Yeah, that's not super great. So I guess the silver lining that we could take from this is maybe he's just on a downward slide for the moment. And if this is his baseline, you know, what are his season-long stats? Can we talk ourselves into it? So he has what? Positive off the tee, positive approach, barely. He's like a 0 approach, a 0 off the tee guy too. He's basically 0 all around. He is agent 0. Like 0.067, that's basically 0. 0.07, that's basically 0. Negative 0.04, that's basically 0. And the closest one to 0 yet, 0.011, that's pretty close to 0. Like, that's all 0. 54% cut made percentage. That's a pretty high baseline for rounds under 70%. That's not terrible. 93 rounds that go into it, and yeah, nearly half of them are under par. DK top 10, 3%. That's pretty gross. You know what? I might have been bamboozled. I was on the turn last night and I was talking to Andrew Putters, and He's a big Grayson Sig guy, but he's also from Tennessee, or he's from that area, and I can kind of see why he might like Grayson Sig, because Georgia boy, Southeast, Southern boy. Okay. Maybe we don't do Grayson Sig. Let's see. Recent form baseline. Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, and what would be 73 DK points, honestly? Like, if we were to look, 73 is like a 24th position, 24th place. So 77 for Aaron Rye last year. Oh, Carlos Ortiz, 51st place. So if he makes the cut, he's going to probably pay back his points, most likely. I mean, that's not an exact science, but if we go down to like 73 points from last year, we kind of take a look at the golfers that did, you know, let's do like 74 and down. What were their finishes? 33rd, 42nd, 51st, 59th. So, yeah, I don't know. If he does make the cut, it's obviously, I think it's pretty easy for him to get one of these places. So he would, I think he has the potential to get his 73 points. But this being SweetSpot DFS, we don't really care about making the cut. We care, well, we do, but we care more about getting top 10 finishes. So he'd have to score way more than 73 points for us to be happy. So yeah, Grayson Sig, I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm probably not going to play as much of Grayson Sig now that I see that. See, how much did I already save him in? Probably not a lot, right? One lineup there. Yeah, just one lineup. That's fine. Oh, 2 lineups. We got 2. That's fine. But good to note. Hey, thank you for pointing that out. A lot of the times when I'm doing chat and stuff like that, there are some things that chat brings up that super interesting. I'll always remember Shot Like Harden was in here and we were talking about at the Sony Open, and he had mentioned Taylor Montgomery before Taylor Montgomery was any good, really not so much any good, but before he like came to. It was a conversation between Mav McNeely or Taylor Montgomery. Which golfer would we want? I think I was on the Mav McNeely train, and he pointed something out about, you know, like the golfer, well, the Taylor Montgomery being like, you know, a better driver of the golf ball, like he was straighter, and you know, my stats weren't really reflecting that, something like that. Well, then when it came to the Sony Open, I think Montgomery finished inside the top 20, top 10 or something like that. And it's like, if I didn't have this conversation with chat, I wouldn't have gone on someone like Taylor Montgomery. So the fact that you point that out about Grayson Sig, that's great, because, you know, it's kind of funny. Like, I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts out there. I kind of stick to my own stuff and try not to get influenced. But then, you know, I love the guys at the turn, Andrew Putters as well as Joe Nicely. Those guys, wonderful people. But talking about it, he's like, oh yeah, Grayson Sig, he's, you know, he's a stud. He's going to be good, or he, you know, just waiting for him to break out. And it's like, okay, well, you have some information I don't, you know, and I know those Tennessee boys, you know, keep track of their Southern golfers pretty closely. So it's like, oh, okay, I'll take your word for it. Quite personally, I didn't really care for Grayson Sig until he said that. And then when he said that, it kind of gave me like, maybe he's giving me information that nobody else knows about. You know, maybe I'll be early on a Grayson Sig. So, but yeah, I watching Grayson Sig, what is he, like 5'2"? He seems like he's the shortest guy in the world on the PGA Tour. I'm over exaggerating, but I do want to look up his height. The height's everything, but you know, your potential's only so good. Hit the ball super far being a short guy. I'm probably way wrong by that, by the way. 5'7", he is a short guy. I knew it. Just a little short, chubby dude that's out there walking around. We can't play short guys. No short kings on our team. Sorry for all those that are 5'7" and shorter. We just can't be rostering those guys on our team. Completely irrational, but still, that's a new rule now. J.K. Lawrence, I don't remember the Tom Kim question, but yeah, that's pretty super interesting. Which the other interesting thing to go along with that, he's cooled down considerably in the last couple months. I am very interested to see what happens to him over this next year, because he seems like the type of guy who basks in fame. Despite him being a nice dude, he seems like he's a nice guy, but getting all that attention, at first that attention's innocent and it's awe-inspiring and it's, you know, admiration and stuff like that. Then it turns into greed. And it'd be really interesting to see if he's kind of like, maybe he peaked too early and he can't keep up with fame. Like, that'd be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. That, I think it's psychological about that kind of stuff, and how it would impact certain golfers. Him being what, 20 years old or 21, whatever it is, I'd be really interested if that was an issue or a case. Yeah, that get more in shape. They did talk about that during the Zurich Classic, during the featured groups. He did look fit though. Like he looked slimmer and he looked, you know, I guess a little bit stronger, a little bit bulkier. So yeah, I think he is. Oh, maybe. I just think maybe just being in shape is a good thing in general when it comes to being on the golf course. Your longevity is it becomes longer. You know, on a hard golf course like Augusta, you'll be able to walk that course and not be as tired. So yeah, all that stuff's really interesting. All right. So the lineup that was built, I didn't mind, right? We saved that one already. We did. We'll run a couple more. I want to know where Almond Bread went. Is there another, I wonder if there's another live DFS show out there. I want to see if he wanted me to build some more Brent Grant lineups or Matty Schmid. Let's see. Rahm, Hosler, Lashley, Zaire Batia, and Ryan Moore. I don't mind it. I'm not a huge Ryan Moore fan this week, though. Probably not really a big Ryan Moore fan at most golf courses. Like, I feel like Pebble Beach would be an okay course to play Ryan Moore, even out in Vegas since he's a UNLV guy. But outside of that, I don't know. You know what? I can get behind this lineup. John Rahm, Beau Hosler, Will Gordon, Patton Kizzire, Adam Long, and Martin Laird. Not super into Martin Laird, but hey, it's a unique lineup. Let's do it. Build a couple more. This is an interesting lineup. For whatever reason, James Hahn's name has been getting pulled up a lot. Like, either I'm paying attention to it more, or it's just the universe is trying to tell me something with James Hahn. I don't know, but I'm seeing his name a lot. Started with Rainmakers when I was looking at Rainmaker cards. My starter pack had James Hahn in it, and I actually crafted a I turned James Hahn into Beau Hosler. So I thought that was a good level up. But then everything in the market was just like, Hahn just had the best like value in like purchasing, and I'm probably over conflating Hahn's value here in DFS because of how cheap he is in Rainmakers and the perceived value of purchasing him there. So I'm trying to, you know, make him more important this week in DFS than he probably should be. And I just started the Rainmaker thing. Yeah, that'll be fun, trying to juggle between Rainmaker and DFS. Anyways, let's move on. I don't think Han's a very good golfer to hang your laurels on. Let's see here. I don't like this one. Lashley, Kim, Novak, Kodaira. I don't want to have Michael Kim in a lineup where I don't trust the other 5 golfers, and I don't trust Nate Lashley. I guess I don't mind Novak, but I also don't trust Kodaira. So I'm actually going to cross out Michael Kim so I don't see him again. I putted on a hole with Sean O'Hare once. Little celebrity golf outing. He missed a long putt for our team. Oh, that's kind of cool, though. Sean O'Hare, I think he's a tall guy, right? Can't remember. Again, not that that really matters, but kind of matters. I love this lineup minus Henrik Norlander. Rom, Hauser, Smalley, Batia, Norlander, Alvaro Ortiz. Alvaro Ortiz is Carlos Ortiz's brother, if you didn't know that. I don't mind that, actually. Oh, that's super cool, JK. That's awesome. Ryan Westbrook, Phillies and Eagle players were all there. That's really cool. I actually don't mind this lineup. Harry Hall, Norlander, and Camilo Villegas. I like Villegas just to add for a 6K golfer here and there, but I don't want to play Norlander with Villegas. What is Norlander? 7,200. I'm going to cross him out too. He's tall. His game is short, though. That's funny. Used to be better. Yes, he did. Can't remember if he had like a breakdown or something mental, but yeah, he could not handle being on tour one way or the other. Maybe he became an alcoholic. I can't remember. He something happened to him though. There was some mental issue, and he took a break, which was good, and then he came back. And I think his first event back, he played pretty well, actually. I think it was like the Honda Classic. He finished top 20, something like that. It was pretty good, but then kind of fell off a little bit and didn't really come back. Except for last week, him and who was it? Brandon Matthews. They were in the optimal lineup last week. That was a good showing by them. The lineup on the screen right now: Hosler, Lashley, Molinari, Chappell, and Trainer. I don't mind whatsoever. For whatever reason, I'm a big Trainer fan this week. I used to despise the guy. I never wanted to play Martin Trainer. For whatever reason this week, I feel pretty comfortable playing Martin Trainer. And then it breaks. And that's primarily because we were building all these lineups. But if I delete everybody and build it again, we'll see some of the same names, but it'll be mixed up a little bit. Duffy, Streelman, Sig, and Glover. We kind of already talked about that, and we talked ourselves off of Grayson Sig. So no more Grayson Sig. Rom, Hauser, Kazire, Streelman, Milnati, and Brent Grant. We did boost up Brent Grant. That's why he's showing up. I'm not against Peter Milnati this week. I guess I don't mind that. I'd rather see a different lineup without Peter Milnati. Adam Long and Ben Taylor. Huh. Not terrible, but I don't trust Adam Long, so we move on. Lashley, Kazire, Streelman, and Tyson Alexander. I'm cool with this lineup. I like this one. Lashley, Kazire, Streelman. Sure, we'll do that. Probably not going to build that many more Bo Hosler lineups. I don't care to build that many Bo Hosler lineups. Nothing against you, J.K. Lawrence. I just do not care for Bo Hosler. Give me some Charlie Woods and Daly Jr. That would be kind of cool. All right, so we have hit our maximums with... So we can't even build that many John Rahm, Bo Hosler lineups anyways. So with all the golfers that we kind of crossed out building those unique lineups, I think we got like 7 decent ones, and then it all kind of went kaput. Let's see here. Rahm and Pendrith were other... It was another combo that I didn't mind playing. Same with Benny Ann. So let's see some Rahm and Pendrith lineups. I'm also probably not going super late tonight, primarily because of my eye. Like I said, I had a procedure done on my eye. I do have medication in it right now that has numbed it, but I can kind of feel it's starting to... it's a little irritated, so we'll see how much more I've gotten me, but feel free to give me, 2 to 4 golfers you want to build lineups around, and I will do that. And if we cut it short, then I guess we cut it short. But it doesn't seem like there are many people in the chat. And of those in the chat, I've got you, Mr. J.K. Lawrence, giving me all the participation. So if you wanted to see me build some more lineups, I certainly can. I don't know exactly who is in the chat. So, and I forgot to play some music. I'm going to put some music on right now. Oh, bro. Sure, we can do that. Let's see here. Do I like to line up on the screen? I do. That's a lot of patent desire. Maybe that's okay, though. Let me know if the music's too loud, by the way. It's hitting the yellow mark, which is probably too loud. Keep it right there. He wants a Højgaard and Rahm lineup. Let's do it. Rahm, Højgaard, Cole, Malnati, Sig. We don't like Sig. Remember that. Let's remove Sig. Rahm, Højgaard, Lipsky, Streelman, Eckroat, and Martin Laird. I don't mind that lineup at all. In fact, I'm going to save it. Rahm, Højgaard, Cole, Adam Long, Sean O'Hare. Hey, here we go, J.K. Lawrence. Sean O'Hare in this lineup with Lucas Glover. I don't like it. I don't want Glover and Long in the same lineup. It just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel good. Feels like a failed lineup. Oh, and I don't want, like, the 3 losers to me, Reeve, Kim, and Holmes. Like, the most not Reeve so much, but Reeve to me has, like, no potential on a long golf course. And Michael Kim's all over the place. So too is JB Holmes. Oigard, Jaeger, Novak, Schmid, and George McNeil. Ah, that's gross. George McNeil's in this field, by the way. Saw his card on the Rainmaker Marketplace. Oigard, Rom, Reeby. We gotta get rid of Reeby. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I had some Cole exposure, and it didn't work out either. He's been kind of a letdown since the Honda Classic. Like, it seemed like he was rounding into form at the Honda Classic, and then he just did not do well whatsoever. I'm not gonna do this because I don't want more. I also don't. Well, I wouldn't want Moore and Griffin together. Griffin, Batia, O'Hare, and I wouldn't want Han and Griffin together. Let's go ahead and remove Griffin. I don't want to see Griffin in my lineups. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut this one short. My eye is starting to bother me, so probably build a few more and then call her quits. Sean O'Hare. So I like Carl Yuan just for a future prospect. Gosh, I want this lineup to work out. I'm gonna save it just because it has potential. I want potential, but you think Pendrith has a good chance to do well this week? And you said this is my Pendrith week. What do you mean by that? You got some superstition information you want to share? Because I'm curious. I want to know why it's my Pendrith week. Ted Potter Jr. Haven't seen that name in a long time. I'm going to go ahead and also remove Lashley. Okay, I can get behind a lineup like this. Although, I don't know. Molinari and Ortiz give me the same vibes. Like, they're very volatile, and having two super volatile golfers like that on your squad, probably not super great. I do like Taylor Pendrith, yeah. I like Pendrith. I thought maybe you had some, like, superstitious information that I could use in choosing Pendrith. Molinari, Piercy, Nunez, Glover. I don't mind a lineup like this. I'm actually just going to save this down here because I don't want to keep going back and forth. Blue weeklies in this field? What the heck? That's crazy. Crazy talk. Jose Cristobal Islas. Oh, what's all this 6K nonsense? Like, just flat 6K. I guess we can't build that many Rom Højgaard lineups. This doesn't really work out. Nico Echeverria. Actually, I don't mind him here at this event. There's no real hazards to get in trouble with. He's very erratic, so not terrible. SOG for Pendrith? I'm blanking on what SOG means. Can you remind me? SOG, what is SOG? Strength of game? Not sure. Rom, Højgaard, Streelman, EVR, Scott Piercy, and Lucas Glover. I like this. I don't... that's too much Lucas Glover. Yeah, JK, I'm gonna probably take off sometime soon, like in the next 5 minutes, most likely. Sebastian Vasquez. What is this? I gotta say, the Rom Højgaard lineups aren't looking super sexy. Alejandro Tosti. Or Tosti. Look at all these qualifiers for the Mexico Open just showing up at the bottom. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Are you looking for the strength of field points that he provides? One point that goes towards it. Rom, the overwhelming majority leader of strength of field points. Omar Morales. Jose Toledo. These names are too good. Raul Arida. All right. Yeah. Okay, so we can't really do many Højgaard and Rom lineups. When we cross out some of these guys, that's crazy. Crazy talk. I imagine the 8K golfers are going to be the ones that are paired up with Rom the most or the best. Smalley, Jaeger, Kazire, Matty Schmid, Ben Taylor. I like that. That's a good lineup. All right, I think we're gonna call her quit. An hour 30 minutes into this. I apologize for not being able to go longer, but the eyes are, or the eye is not feeling the greatest. So let me do one more and get out of here. Did this? No? Oh, this is a new lineup. Like, what the heck? Schmid and Ben Taylor, and this one has Nunez and Ben Taylor. Yeah, I like this one too. That's too much Kazire. I don't want that much Kazire. Bring back Streelman. Eckroat, Schmid, that's fine. Nunez, sure. Say no to Lucas Glover. I want to get rid of Kazire. Not that I don't want to play Kazire, I just don't want to see him show up that many times. Cole, Streelman, Brent Grant. Yeah, I like that lineup too. Do we already have this though? Jaeger, Duffy with Grant. Jaeger, Duffy, Grant. No, we do not. Cool. All right, I think that's the last lineup. So, again, I apologize for cutting the stream short. Like I said, I had a procedure done with my eye, had technically laser surgery. To relieve pressure, and it is irritated right now. I did put drops in to numb it before jumping on, but I think it's wearing off, and with the bright lights on me, it's too much. So I think this is where we cut it off. I mean, I know it's where we cut it off. It is the Mexico Open, so it's not all that not super great to be playing DFS. I think a lot of people are taking the week off, so it's fine. We put our content out there. We built some lineups. JK, thank you for joining me and participating in the chat. It's always great to talk to, at least someone instead of talking to myself, talking to you guys pretending that you're on the other side listening and providing feedback. But anyways, we're gonna call her quits there. Just a reminder of some giveaways. If you're not yet subscribed, you can have a chance to win $5 weekly, $50 monthly, just by being subscribed and commenting on my videos. You're gonna get participation points if you chat in the live chat. You'll get participation points on any of the videos that I put out there. So go ahead, do that. Every video you comment on, you get 1 free entry per video. So highly encourage you guys to go do that. And if we hit our sub goal that you can see all the way over there to the left, we'll give away $50 at the end of the month. If not, I'll provide a t-shirt that has this logo on it. Of course, it'll be right side round. So it'll be good when it gets to you. Obviously, my image is mirrored. So that's one giveaway. And then, of course, Prize Picks. If you're not signed up on Prize Picks yet, it's fun. If you're in a state that allows it, there's a link in the description. Click that link. It'll send you to the homepage. Click sign up, and boom, SweetSpot will already be populated in the promo code. You just got to sign up, put a deposit entry in, or put a deposit towards your account, and I will send you $20 back. So you can use the deposit match that they have up to $100. If you want to play it for free, put $20 in your account, and I will give you your $20 back. So that's available to you, and of course, hopefully you're following along with the cheat sheet. If you want the optimizer, I will send you the optimizer. So let me know. Outside of that, I am done. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe on your way out.